Welcome to Viewin' and Reviewin', where I pull older movies off the shelf, watch them, and let you know if I believe they're worth your time to watch or not. I'm Bobby T, your online video store clerk. I'll be searching through my VHS, DVD, and Blu-ray collection to find titles that I think may be interesting to review. Some will be mainstream, but there may be some obscure titles, foreign films, documentaries. In today's episode, I'll be reviewing 1985's My Science Project, directed by Jonathan Butel, and starring John Stockwell, Fisher Stevens, Danielle von Zerneck, and the perfectly cast bipolar hippie science teacher, Dennis Hopper. Let me read you the DVD cover. His high school science teacher issues an ultimatum: turn in a science project or flunk. So, Mike Harlan, John Stockwell, scavenges a military base's junk pile for a suitable gizmo. He finds one, and unwittingly unleashes the awesome power and energy of the unknown. Twisted dimensions, time warps, and a fantastic realm where the past, present, and future collide in a whirling vortex of startling adventures and superlative special effects. Well, I gotta say that's a bit of a letdown. I mean, how many times do you get to see a button-down Dennis Hopper turn into a crazed, buckskin-coated hippie activist in the matter of one film? Wait, never mind. He wore the exact same costume in Easy Rider. Anyway, this movie really is better than the back of the DVD cover. John Stockwell, yes, the cougar in Top Gun, plays the cool high school senior motorhead Mike, who can't love anything more than his 1968 Pontiac GTO, or GOAT. His greasy sidekick, Vinny, played over-the-top funny by Fisher Stevens, tags along for any and all misadventures, no matter their legality. Mike's being chased for a school article, and maybe a bit more, by the ultra-geeky but super cute, as they all are, behind the glasses and retainer, Danielle von Zerneck as Ellie. Mike is given an ultimatum by Dennis Hopper, playing Dennis Hopper. I mean, Mr. Roberts, the 60s throwback science teacher, to turn in a science project, any science project, or be flunked. Later that night, Mike decides to take Vinny to the conveniently located airplane graveyard, where they stumble upon a long-buried secret hangar. Mike grabs a dusty, cool-looking glowing orb gizmo that coincidentally looks like an 80s electric Tesla globe, and the boys run away before security starts shooting. Once Mike and Vinny go back to the school, they leave the gizmo in their school locker overnight, and weird stuff happens. The next day, they realize it has cool electric powers, and hey, why not hook it up to the school's electric supply like all kids would do? This accidentally opens a vortex into another era-defying dimension. Trust me, it's not defining. And all kinds of heck breaks loose. The school and town are terrorized by cavemen, space aliens, and even a basketball court-eating dinosaur. It's up to Mike, Vinny, Ellie, and nerd with a grenade launcher Sherman, and the nitrous-powered goat to save the universe. Yes, this film sounds absurd and dumb, but believe it or not, it's actually really cool for its day. Very dated special effects aside, the story has some character growth and genuinely challenging situations our heroes must overcome to save the world. For 1985, this film felt a lot more exciting than it had a right to be based on the subject matter. Fisher Stevens' loud, jazzy Vinny accent and mannerisms made him laugh out loud back then, and it still does today, even if it's a bit tired now. He was better in this than he was in Short Circuit, by the way, with another crazy accent. Anyway, John Stockwell was average as a heroic motorhead, and I thought his chemistry with Ellie was a realistic leap by the film's end. Dennis Hopper had just come out of rehab when they made this film, and it shows. Now, he's a hoot, but he's obviously high on something. The rest of the cast is good, but really not used that much once the black holes open and bad things come floating out of the atmosphere. Car buffs will absolutely go ape over the beautiful Pontiac GTO they basically thrashed throughout the movie. I'm sure there'll be all kinds of Save the Goat clubs out there to protest the car's treatment today, but it's part of the fun. It doesn't take itself too seriously and comes across with charm and dark humor you wouldn't expect that hits just right. It's a fun ride for an hour and a half, and it's all I could ask. So, my overall report card looks like this. Does it stand the test of time? Yes. Barely. Maybe a B-. The Styles and Vinny's in-your-face Jersey accent do get a bit much in today's world, but back in the day, they were right on. This is a time capsule film, but it's worth watching for that reason. Story. Well, It's a little bit of paint-by-numbers 80s sci-fi silliness for much of the film, until Mike's gizmo unleashes the past, present, and future onto our world, and the kids have to save us before we become dino dinners. But that's the joy of this film. I'd give it a C+, to be honest, and it isn't too original, but it also has some inspired story choices once they open up the portal. The cast, honestly, it's a pretty average cast, so a C. Pretty much they could have had an open casting call for most of the cast and would have gotten the same outcome, with the exception of Fisher Stevens and Dennis Hopper. They both get an A for their particular shticks, but hitting their characters dead on. Fisher Stevens is a taste in this film, but I give him A+ from my perspective. I thought he was great. Cinematography. Well, it was 1985, and it looks like it. That's not bad. It's just kind of not going to make you forget Lawrence of Arabia. It was a C for the day. The music? Again, it was mid-80s, and Vinny had a boombox, so it's a C. That's all you really need to know. It blared and annoyed. It made us kids from that era tap our toes for fun, but it isn't a soundtrack you'll race out to find on iTunes. So, overall, based on the above, the score is a C+. However, I'll recommend this film higher than that. If you enjoyed it back in the day, you'll enjoy it just as much today. It looks and feels exactly the same, albeit with some pretty lame special effects in comparison to the Marvel universe of today. Those of you that have never watched this film before may be somewhat disappointed in the averageness of the story and will be underwhelmed by the special effects. But if you want a time capsule film to let you know what you were missing from that era, this is a fun detour to watch some 80s cheesiness with just a bit of sci-fi excellence from back in the day. So here are a few other recommendations along the same vein. Tremors, one of my all-time favorites. They're not the same film, and the Tremors special effects stand the test of time surprisingly well, but they have the same urgency to contain the threat before it becomes a worldwide terror with just a small band of heroes with zero experience. Plus, I can't ever get enough of Val and Earl. The Last Starfighter. The standard trope of high school uber nerd recruited against his will to save the universe from unspeakable terrors is on full display here. Plus, it was the first film to use CGI, so you can appreciate how hard it was to pull off real special effects on an Apple II personal computer back in the day, and shows you how much time and effort had to go into a 1984 sci-fi flick. And, lastly, The Wraith. Talk about an iconic movie car from the mid-80s that isn't a DeLorean packing a flux capacitor. This film is actually cheesier than My Science Project, but for car buffs, it's a gem. And anytime you can get Charlie Sheen before the insanity and the smoking hot Sherilyn Fenn in a red bikini, you gotta be doing something right. Well, that's it for My Science Project. If you enjoyed this review, please be sure to click the like button below. If you want to keep up to date on my future reviews, please click the subscribe button below. If you want to purchase My Science Project on DVD, or you can purchase the recently released Better Transfer onto Blu-ray with a short interview with Fisher Stevens today, or if you wish to purchase any of the other titles I mentioned earlier, please follow the Amazon links below, and I'll get a small residual if you're so inclined. If you have any suggestions for movies you'd like me to review, please leave a comment below, and I'll see what I can do. Thank you so much for watching. Until next time, be nice to help others in need, even if you get nothing in return. Have a great week.